The moment the winds of Elbaf began to stir, something felt different in the world of One Piece. Not louder, not brighter, just heavier. As if the sea itself was holding its breath. Legends were shifting, ancient powers were resurfacing, and among all those ripples of change, one name kept echoing with growing intensity: RORONOA ZORO. What lies ahead is not merely another battlefield, but the threshold of a swordsman's true awakening, the kind that separates warriors from legends. This is not a story about sudden power-ups or random destiny. It is the slow burn of years of discipline, silent suffering, and unbreakable resolve finally reaching its boiling point. From the awakening of kingly ambition, to invisible enemies lurking in the storm, and the looming shadow of the greatest blades in the world, Zoro's path is tightening into a single unavoidable line. And when that line finally snaps into place, the balance of the era itself may shift with it. Alright, before we dive any deeper and keep this anime storytelling journey alive together, make sure you subscribe, smash that like button, and share your thoughts in the comments so the hype doesn't die down. Now then, let's get right into the discussion. Let's roll. The most crucial development regarding Zoro in the Elbaf arc is the official confirmation that he can now wield Haoshiku Haki, the Haki of Kings. Gaban openly states that this royal aura has begun to merge with Zoro's very body. That statement finally makes Zoro realize something fundamental. He truly possesses the qualities of a king. Interestingly, Luffy seems to have sensed this power within him long before Zoro himself did. Gaban then scolds Zoro for taking so long to recognize the enormous potential he carries. He questions whether Zoro can truly support a Yonko-level captain if he has yet to fully understand his own power. Zoro does not argue back. Instead, he accepts the criticism calmly and faces it with dignity, a reaction that perfectly reflects Zoro's core character. In truth, most readers had already suspected Zoro possessed Haoshiku Haki. They were simply waiting for official confirmation. The signs had been present for a long time: the black-green lightning effects that resemble Conqueror's Haki, Zoro's murderous aura that has caused enemies to collapse unconscious, and even acknowledgement from legends like Kaido and Odin, both of whom sense the presence of kingly Haki within him. None of this is accidental. Since early on, Zoro trained himself to perceive the breath of steel, and practiced deep meditation to unify his mind and spirit. That discipline appears to be the key that allowed Haoshiku to awaken within him. One of the clearest examples is the incident with Monet. Zoro did not physically wound her at all. He simply stood there and released such overwhelming pressure that Monet froze in place. Toshiji described the moment vividly. Monet's body could not move, paralyzed by fear born from the aura of a true warrior. That fear, the crushing presence that attacks the opponent's spirit, is one of the core expressions of Haoshiku Haki. This means that as far back as the Punk Hazard arc, Zoro had already begun displaying the earliest form of Conqueror's Haki. In that same scene, Luffy even commented that Zoro's Haki was leaking everywhere. The word leaking perfectly captures uncontrolled energy, like water escaping from a broken pipe. In other words, the power was already there. Zoro simply had not yet learned how to control it properly. This reinforces one of One Piece's central truths: raw talent alone is never enough. Without proper understanding of Haki or devil power, even the greatest potential remains incomplete. After Gaban's warning, Loki makes an intriguing remark of his own. He admits that he struggles to describe his own power with words. Whether this refers to mastery of Haoshiku or to abilities tied to some form of devil power remains unclear. What is certain, however, is that Loki possesses strength capable of challenging even the devil abilities of the gods' knights. So the question becomes, what role will Zoro ultimately play in Elbaf? In battle predictions, the strongest possibility points toward a clash between Zoro and a Kirin-type fighter. Zoro has already fought giraffe-based users twice before, at Enies Lobby and again at Egghead. In Japanese, the giraffe is called Kirin. This repeating pattern makes another encounter with a Kirin in Elbaf feel far from coincidental. Adding another layer of symbolism, Kirin is also the name of a famous Japanese beer company, Kirin Beer. Oda is well known for embedding such references into his work, making even the smallest details feel intentional. From a naming perspective alone, a Zoro vs Kirin matchup feels deliberately crafted. This becomes even more fitting when considering Zoro's well-known fondness for alcohol. The story began when an entertainer casually mentioned that Oda seemed uninterested in theories. The comment was exaggerated by listeners and spread rapidly. Later, that same entertainer clarified his words on radio, admitting that Oda never actually said such a thing. It was merely a spontaneous remark that had been misinterpreted. The entertainer belongs to a comedy duo named Shimohuri Myojo. Interestingly, some Japanese fans began speculating that this name could be an anagram connected to the surname Kairingam. The word Shimofuri means falling snow, which subtly evokes the Shimatsuki clan, a family deeply connected to Zoro. This suggests that layers of hidden symbolism may exist beneath the surface. If the Straw Hats eventually clash with the Blackbeard pirates, Zoro's most likely opponent will be Shiryu. This is not only because both are swordsmen, but also because numerous subtle clues point toward Shiryu originating from Wano, just like Zoro. First, the name Shiryu itself comes from Japanese vocabulary. In One Piece, characters with Japanese-derived names almost always have Wano blood. This is why Nusjiro is strongly believed to be from Wanakuni as well. The name Shiryu contains the element Ryu, meaning dragon, the same term associated with the legendary samurai Ryuma from 400 years ago. Shiryu also wields a katana, a distinctly Japanese sword, reinforcing his connection to Wano heritage. Beyond that, Shiryu's behavior mirrors samurai values. His execution of a woman echoes Edo-era law, where a samurai could legally strike down a commoner who insulted them without facing punishment. Every aspect of Shiryu's image is rooted in the aesthetics and philosophy of Wanakuni, including the ritualistic way he maintains and polishes his blade. The name of Shiryu's sword itself is Rai, which in Japanese means thunderstorm. Even his epithet, Shiryu of the Rain, reinforces that same storm motif. All of this supports a compelling theory. Shiryu is very likely a descendant of the Uzuki clan, a name that literally translates to lightning moon. The Uzuki clan was once one of the daimyo families serving the Kazuki clan. Their distinctive trait was a long, prominent chin. Interestingly, Uzuki tempura is depicted with that same feature, and Shiryu shares it as well. Historically, the territory governed by the Uzuki clan was called Udon. In Wano, the Udon region corresponds to Japan's Shikoku area, which is famously associated with udon noodles. More importantly, Udon in Wano also functioned as a massive prison camp for criminals. This aligns perfectly with Shiryu's past position at Impel Down, the world's most notorious prison. Impel Down itself contains numerous symbols that may connect it to the ancient kingdom or Wano. Its walls are covered with carvings resembling ancient script, and its official emblem bears a striking resemblance to the crest of the Kazuki clan. This opens the possibility that after the fall of the ancient kingdom and the rise of the world government, the Uzuki clan, who once managed Wano's prison facilities, migrated and continued their role as jailers at Impel Down. Shiryu, as their descendant, would naturally inherit that responsibility as a chief warden. If Zoro truly does clash with Shiryu, the greatest threat he faces will come from the power of the Suk Suk no Mi. Should Shiryu have awakened this devil fruit, he would likely be capable of erasing not only his own physical form, but also his sword, and perhaps even everything around him from sight. Under such conditions, Zoro's vision becomes almost useless. He would be forced to fight without relying on his eyes at all, and that is where the real trial begins. Yet this is precisely the moment where Zoro's lifelong training is meant to shine. His ability to sense the breath of existence, the sharpness of his instincts, and the purity of his swordsman's spirit, all forged through years of brutal discipline. With those abilities, Zoro is expected to pierce through Shiryu's invisible illusion and claim victory. But Shiryu is not the end of Zoro's road. Several powerful adversaries still await him, though 3 stand above the rest. In Japanese culture, there is a traditional belief that seeing 3 particular things at the start of the year brings great fortune: Fuji, Taka, and Nasu. Within the world of One Piece, these symbols align in fascinating ways. Fuji clearly points to Admiral Isho, known as Fujitora. Taka, meaning hawk, unmistakably refers to Dracul Mihawk. And Nasu, meaning eggplant, corresponds to Nusjiro of the Gora Ci. All 3 are swordsmen whose level rivals, or even surpasses, Zoro's current strength. Therefore, it is entirely plausible that Zoro's final battle as a swordsman will be against one of these 3 figures. So the conclusion is, all of these threads lead to a single undeniable truth. Zoro's journey has entered its decisive phase as a true swordsman. From the awakening of Haoshiku, to the looming duel with Shiryu, and ultimately toward the shadow of a final confrontation with Mihawk, Fujitora, or Nusjiro, everything forms a clear line of destiny. Zoro is no longer merely Luffy's right-hand man. He is one of the central pillars that will determine the balance of power in the final era of One Piece. Big thanks to everyone who stayed all the way to the end. If anything's on your mind or you've got questions, drop them in the comments below. Appreciate you for watching, and catch you in the next videos.